Well, who's to blame and who's going to get some credit out of all this? What does it mean politically? We know what it means, and we've talked about it for the last hour and a half, what it means physically and financially to everybody impacted. But let's talk about the politics here. Joined now by Democratic analyst Bob Weiner and Republican analyst David Hoppe again. Guys, thanks for joining us. Bob, I'm going to start with you. Democrats, did they win this thing? I mean, the magic number seems to be $37 billion in cuts. Way closer to 30 than the 60 Republicans wanted. President Obama calls it the biggest spending cut in history. Harry Reid calls it historic. A lot of chirping on your side of the aisle.
Well, I think the number is $39 billion, but beneath both Boehner's and Obama's happy talk, 1 million jobs in the D.C. area were held hostage to environmental deregulation and barring women's health. And I think that is an outrage to have the entire federal government and to have the entire success or failure of our democracy relying on ideological parameters when it's a matter of balancing the budget was really a wrong way to go. So I don't think anybody won on this, but I think the Republicans lost far more by insisting on those riders. And I think the federal worker that you just spoke with is absolutely right. This isn't over. The fact that this now extends into Thursday gives the ideologues another chance to go at it again. So we're going to have to fight this battle all the way through.
David, do you think that this is in fact over and that it looks like this is a deal in place just to finally put the I's and T's on this thing by Wednesday?
Yes, I do believe that's where we are. And 1 month ago when we ran up against the continuing resolution that ended in early March. If you'll recall where we were, the Republicans wanted $61 billion in cuts through the rest of the fiscal year, and Senator Reid said we couldn't cut cowboy poetry. So there's been a lot of movement on both sides, but clearly the Republicans gained the thing that was most important to them, which is starting to cut the budget and starting to move in a different direction in terms of the increasing debt of the United States.
Are you concerned about the, David, about the riders that may impact D.C.? I mean, there's talk that there are still provisions that will not allow D.C. to spend its money on perhaps abortions?
I think you will see some of these riders once again talked about, but you'll see them talked about on the regular FY12, next year's appropriations bills, as opposed to on this continuing resolution that'll take us through the end of this fiscal year in the end of September. I think that deal is done. What they're doing now is writing it up. It takes some time to do that. You want to do it correctly. You don't want to have to go back and correct it. But my belief is that the agreement that Speaker Boehner got with his caucus to agree to do by voice vote, unanimous consent, this 6-day layover is an understanding that they will do the next bill, which takes us through the end of the fiscal year, and the agreement of $39 billion, as Bob said, through the end of the fiscal year.
Bob, how are the Democrats going to handle the next 2 years, this faction of the Tea Party, faction of the Republican Party, the Tea Partiers, who really flexed their muscle this time around and really seem to have the Democrats kind of with their backs against the wall?
Well, you're exactly right, Brian. You know, $39 billion is a drop in the bucket compared to the $14 trillion deficit that we have. And no one is addressing the elephants in the room. The two wars, which are $1 trillion a year, and the tax breaks, which are $4 trillion over the next decade, and $1 trillion of that for the rich. So until we go at that, we don't have to go at Social Security and Medicare. We have to go at the wars, and we have to go at the tax breaks that are the revenue that we no longer have. That's why we have a deficit. So Democrats have been pushing for some time and actually have been dragged kicking and screaming into those Republican tax breaks. And now the Republicans want to claim we have a deficit and we have to cut all the social programs that everyone depends on. That's the wrong way to go, and we've got to correct it.
David, I think a lot of people would kind of argue that this was arguing over lattes at Starbucks, and then they're going to raise the credit card limit, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars, if you take that analogy. Is this the next big fight, the debt ceiling? Well,
actually, I think the next big fight is going to be on the budget and starting down the road of the appropriations bills. But in the middle of that fight, sometime this summer, my guess is June, at the latest by July, you'll have the debt limit. And then that will be a huge fight, because you're also going to have some fundamental changes in procedure and looking at long-term changes in entitlement programs. In the long run, the 10, 15, 20, 25 years out, what really is going to be unsupportable. And as you look at all the numbers that are put out by the government, what's unsupportable is the tremendous growth in Medicare, Medicaid, those programs themselves. So Congressman Ryan, the budget chairman in the House, has put together a very bold plan. It's a tough plan, and it's one that will give a lot of debate, but it'll also start an appropriations process debate throughout the year, and that will be interrupted at some point by the debt ceiling debate.
Bob, I'll give you the last word here. And what's the Democrats' plan?
Well, last time the Republicans tried to privatize Social Security and Medicare was about 4 or 5 years ago, and Speaker Pelosi told me that we stopped them from doing that then. That is going to be the fight to the death. I mean, David's right. Ryan is going to try to voucherize Medicare and Social Security. He's going to try to privatize it. And meanwhile, he's not going to try to take anything away. It's going to be more tax breaks for the rich, more tax breaks for the rich, and that's supposed to create the jobs, which it hasn't done in 8 years.
Who's
that
the
is
emerging
a failed
star, though?
policy, and we have to change course.
Who's going to have your budget?
Who's going to have our budget? I lost your question.
Yeah, who's going to give a budget proposal on your side?
The president already proposed $33 billion. Mark Plotkin was absolutely wrong. The president proposed $33 billion in cuts. We're at 39. That's pretty darn close. So the president is the leader, and he has done a great job. Jack Lew is the OMB director, and he is really coming in with budget cuts. But we will not tolerate, Democrats will not tolerate cuts in Social Security and privatizing Medicare.
Social Security is not touched in the Ryan budget, but Medicare and Medicaid are.
Yep, we see the stage already set for the next battle. Bob Weiner, David Hobby, thank you both.
Good pleasure.
Pleasure.